Welcome to exercise application video number 33, I believe. I got back from the gym a little while ago. I just showered and I want to talk about my workout. So today I had a circuit style leg day. I did things like step ups, I did some hip thrust, I did some glute bridges, some lunges, some RDLs, all the works. But what I want to talk about today is not so much the workout, but the altitude I'm at, right? So this is kind of not relevant because we don't live somewhere super high. But we're gonna pretend here. So I'm originally from Gainesville, and we have a little higher elevation, not to where it's really gonna make much of a difference for these things, but we're gonna pretend. So let's pretend the difference between Gainesville and Dahlonega. It's very small, but let's pretend it's like to Mount Everest, right? Crazy high. So what actually happens if I'd been trying to do that workout on Mount Everest? And this pertains a little bit more to endurance type activities, and since I was doing circuit training, which is a little more HIIT style, it does incorporate an endurance cardiovascular task, so this is somewhat relevant. So as you move higher and higher in altitudes, we actually see lower atmospheric pressures of oxygen. We have the same percentage, but what happens is we actually get thin air, so our oxygen is just more distributed, right? It spreads out more in higher altitudes, so as we breathe in, we have less oxygen available to us. And so there's a very pressure gradient from outside to our lungs, so we have to work harder to inhale because that's what actually drives oxygen in. So what we see when we think about like the chemistry, the oxygen hemoglobin dissociation curve, we see what would act as a right shift because we have less oxygen to even begin with. So we start off lower. If this is the regular curve, we're starting at about here. And then because we have less oxygen, we're actually less likely to offload it because we don't have as much to begin with. So we see things like increased heart rate at submaximal efforts. We see increased ventilation because we're trying to draw more oxygen in. Some of the adaptations that people can actually get to this, you can kind of acclimatize yourself. We can get increased red blood cells. We can get, which allows us to carry more oxygen, right? We can get more blood flow to the lungs, and then we can get increased oxygen saturation. So Sherpas actually have this, which is super cool. And so that's kind of altitude training in a nutshell. But something that people do sometimes for, especially like high level athletes, that can be really effective is you live in high altitudes and you train in a lower altitude. Because by living in that high altitude, you get the benefits of of adapting and being acclimated to high altitudes, but by training in low altitudes, you're able to push your body to get the maximum strength and endurance adaptation. So you kind of get the best of both worlds because by having more of that hemoglobin, more blood flow through your lungs, you're going to be a better athlete, especially in endurance activities. And so you have a massive advantage, especially if you're pairing that with maximum benefits in the weight room and with your cardio. So yeah.